Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating, honestly kind of wild biological mystery: why we literally cannot seem to put our smartphones down. I mean, if you've ever found yourself just mindlessly scrolling through a feed, losing total track of time, or getting that sudden, almost physical urge to check your screen for absolutely no reason at all, well, you are definitely not alone. We're going to unpack the exact science of what's happening inside your brain the second that screen lights up, and how modern technology is quite literally hacking our evolutionary biology. Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty stunning admission from a former tech executive, one that really validates that guilt a lot of us feel about our own screen time. This quote is from Chamath Palihapitiya, the former VP of user growth at Facebook, speaking to a room full of Stanford students. He directly points out the, quote, short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops embedded right into these platforms. It's incredibly rare to get this level of candor from inside the industry, right? When the actual architects of these platforms admit they're leveraging the exact same neural circuitry used by slot machines, it's a massive wake-up call. It proves that our inability to put our phones away isn't just a lack of willpower, it's literally by design. And the stakes of this arms race for your attention are absolutely massive. Just look at this number. The average US adult taps, types, and swipes on their device over 2,600 times a day. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. 2,600 daily touches. That translates to the average adult spending anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day intimately entwined with their digital lives. We are dedicating a huge chunk of our waking hours to a little piece of glass and metal in our pockets. Now, if you've ever felt that phantom buzz in your pocket, or maybe a quick spike of panic when you felt disconnected, you're experiencing the visceral physical effects of this tech. Research shows that roughly 73% of people claim they experience a very unique flavor of anxiety when they misplace their phone. The connection has become so ingrained in us that our bodies actually physically react to its absence. In fact, tons of users report feeling their phones vibrating in their pockets when they aren't even there, the classic phantom buzz. But why? Why on earth are we so deeply attached to these specific devices? To figure out why we check our phones so constantly, we've got to look at the evolutionary mismatch between our ancient brain chemistry and our modern hypersocial environments. On the left side, you'll see our evolutionary baseline. Humans thrived because we're a social species, right? But our brains evolved to handle social structures of only about 150 individuals. That's the maximum capacity we're hardwired to process. But look at the right, boom, our smartphones hand us a hypersocial environment with up to 2 billion potential connections. We're carrying around a completely unprecedented social reality right in our pockets. And while this kind of connectivity obviously has immense benefits, the cost is definitely mounting, with studies linking heavy smartphone usage to anxiety, depression, and poor sleep. Section 1. Dopamine and social rewards.
See, there's nothing inherently addictive about a rectangular piece of plastic and glass. The addiction actually lies in the invisible levers these devices pull inside our minds. To get a baseline here, let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is basically the brain's internal lever that rewards us for evolutionary survival behaviors, especially positive social stimuli. Think of it as your brain's starring chemical for motivating behavior. You get a huge release of dopamine when you eat a really delicious meal, after a killer workout, and, crucially, when you have a successful social interaction. Evolutionarily speaking, dopamine's job is to pat you on the back and say, hey, that was good for our survival, let's do that again. It reinforces behavior. And while a text message obviously isn't the same as a hit of a heavy narcotic, cognitive neuroscientists have shown that laughing faces, positive peer recognition, and messages from loved ones light up these exact same dopaminergic reward pathways.
And this brilliantly illustrates the brain's internal highways. Specifically, we're looking at the 3 reward pathways that drive habit formation and, unfortunately, addiction. Most of your dopamine is generated deep in the midbrain and travels along these specific routes. Notice the 3 pathways outlined here. There's the mesocortical for attention and learning, the mesolimbic driving our pleasure-seeking, and the nigrostriatal reacting to sensory stimuli. When you hear your phone chime, all 3 of these highways light up like a Christmas tree. Every single time a response to a stimulus results in a reward, the connections between your brain cells actually get stronger. It's a biological process called long-term potentiation. Basically, your brain literally rewires itself to increase the intensity at which it responds to your smartphone's notifications. Section 2. Reward prediction errors. So now that we've got a handle on the biology, let's look at exactly how the tech industry hacks it. With an unlimited supply of positive and negative social stimuli sitting right in our pockets, why is it practically impossible to ignore a notification? You'd think knowing a text is just a text would make it super easy to put the phone away. But actually, it's not the guarantee of a reward that keeps you checking. It's the uncertainty. The answer lies in something called reward prediction errors. This is a concept B.F. Skinner explored way back in the 1930s, proving that variable, unexpected rewards create the strongest habits. On the left side here, we have expected rewards. If you know exactly what you're going to get every single time, it honestly becomes a little boring. But on the right side, we have unexpected rewards. Skinner found in his experiments with mice that if a reward is delivered randomly, after a varying number of responses, the subject responds frantically and habitually. This is the exact same psychology that casino owners use for slot machines. The intense anticipation while the wheels are turning gives your dopamine neurons time to ramp up their activity. You're getting a rewarding feeling just by playing the game.
Look at how unexpected rewards cause a massive dopamine spike, while negative prediction errors make your dopamine literally drop, keeping our brains desperately engaged. Take a really close look at that top green line. When you receive an unexpected reward, your dopamine activity spikes massively above your normal baseline. That's the exact feeling of opening an app and suddenly seeing a flood of positive interactions. Now the blue line shows an expected reward. The spike happens right when you get the cue, but the reward itself offers zero additional thrill. But check out the bottom red line, the negative prediction error. If you expect a reward and you don't get one, your dopamine activity actually plummets below baseline, sending a negative feedback signal. To keep you hooked, an app basically has to perfectly balance those massive positive spikes with the occasional negative drop so you continually come back chasing that high.
Section 3. The arms race for time.
Because these platforms rely entirely on advertising revenue, they are in a literal arms race for your attention. To win this race, platforms like Facebook deliberately expand their notification criteria over time so you're reliably rewarded whenever you check your phone out of pure habit. Think back to when you first joined a platform like Facebook. Your notifications were probably just limited to direct friend requests or direct messages, right? It was a simple one-to-one social reward. But as you keep using it, they expand the criteria. Suddenly you're getting notified about random groups, local events, artists, and people you barely even know. This ensures that almost any time you open the app, there is a shiny little red icon waiting for you. Paired with how insanely low effort it is to just reach into your pocket, this creates an incredibly strong dopamine-fueled incentive to check your phone at the absolute slightest hint of boredom.
So the really crucial point here is how apps like Instagram actually manipulate your dopamine by using variable ratio reward schedules to prime you for sudden influxes of social appraisal. This is honestly one of the most fascinating and deliberate efforts to monopolize your time. According to a 60 Minutes interview referenced in our source material, Instagram's algorithms don't always give you your likes the second they happen. Sometimes they intentionally withhold them. No way, right? But why? Because when you make a post and receive fewer responses than expected, you experience that exact negative prediction error we saw in the graph a minute ago. Your dopamine drops. You feel a little bummed out. But this perfectly primes your dopamine centers so that when the algorithm later decides to deliver a massive, sudden burst of those withheld likes, your brain responds robustly to the social validation. It is a highly optimized, variable reward schedule explicitly designed to make you a habitual user.
Now, it's important to maintain some objective scientific analysis here. Programmers aren't necessarily malicious, but they are operating under really powerful advertisement-based profit models that absolutely demand engagement. As our source author Trevor Haynes pointed out, responding to a reader's comment actually, we shouldn't just point fingers at every individual programmer. Oftentimes, these are higher-level strategic and business design choices. However, these developers are consciously playing a direct role in hacking the brain. The underlying issue is the incentive structure. When a company's entire survival depends on keeping your eyes glued to a screen so they can serve you ads, you better believe they're going to use every psychological algorithm available to stack the cards against your neurological wiring.
Section 4. Taking back your time.
Understanding that these algorithms are completely stacking the neurological cards against us, how do we actually reclaim our time? Well, the tech isn't going anywhere, so the responsibility falls on us to consciously decide how we interact with these devices. Research points to some highly effective, actionable strategies to reduce your phone's visual appeal and break those dopamine feedback loops. First and foremost, simply disable non-essential notifications. Just cut off the cues that are triggering your anticipation. Another brilliant tactic is switching your phone display to black and white. By stripping away those bright, shiny, casino-like colors, you dramatically reduce the device's ability to grab and hold your visual attention. It basically turns a slot machine back into a simple tool. But above all, your best defense is mindful use. You have to actively realize that you're stepping onto a digital casino floor every single time you unlock your screen.
So the next time you feel that habitual, automatic urge to pick up your phone, I want you to look at the screen and ask yourself this final question. Before you swipe to unlock, Before you open that app out of pure habit just because you're standing in line for 30 seconds, just pause, recognize the biological dopamine loop that's trying to pull you in, and ask yourself, is this really worth my time? Taking back control starts with that single moment of awareness. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you walk away today with a fresh understanding of the incredible machine sitting in your pocket and the even more incredible machine inside your head. Because the next time you reach for your phone, you've got to ask yourself, who is really programming who?